a city official called me to let me know that we weren't allowed to book places at all. And so I was thinking, oh shit, they're going to be checking us, right? And I went on this site with everybody, and everybody else seemed to be booking. And the key thing was everyone said, well, as long as they're medical, you're okay. So, I just kind of told everybody who booked, well, if anybody asks, you're medical.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And I talked to another guy in Pompano, and I asked him the same thing. He said, hey, I'm booking everything I can book. I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
So. You're eating, you're going to make us all hungry.
Oh, man. I got a nice filet mignon right here. And guys, all right, no envy here, guys. No envy. You got to eat at some point in the day, right?
Yeah. And where's your place in the Keys?
On 100th, on Mile Marker 100, right next to Port Largo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that even in the Keys?
Huh?
Is that even in the Keys?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean? Is that? I don't get it.
You said mile marker 100, right? That's like Homestead.
No. The Keys technically begins in mile marker 112, goes all the way to 0, which is Key West.
Well, Key Largo.
Okay.
It's Key Largo. Yeah. Mile marker 100 is Key Largo. Then you have Tabadir, La Morada, all that stuff.
I grew up in Marathon. We consider Key Largo part of Miami.
Well, essentially it is, because it's only about an hour commute, so it's a beautiful thing. You just go back and forth,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I've had it for 12 years, and unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but it's under contract now, man. So back to lending money at very high LTVs.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm heading. I'm eventually gonna get rid of my buildings, by the way. So I have some bigger plans. I'm probably gonna get out of this business before you know it, in the next year or so.
Oh wow!
How big are your buildings?
They're 2 6-unit apartment buildings, but in Little Havana. One completely redone, and the other one it's an older one. I already put impact windows and the whole deal, but it's not like my Airbnb business is like little brickle apartments, pretty much. I mean, really all decked out, really nice. They're just small. They're the size of a hotel room. They're studios, but with a full kitchen. And those things used to do great, man. And I'm telling you, I must have had. I always rented just one, because I had this one guy that just never wanted to leave, and he pays me great money. But I always had 5 units on Airbnb, and they would always be. I must have had in 1 year about 650 bookings. No joke.
Wow.
I have like 360 reviews in 1 year. That's all I had in 1 year. Yeah, this was a crank 'em, man. It was, and I have a 4.99 or whatever review. So I had it all under control, man. It was going really, really well. And I'm sure it'll get there. It's just a matter of things opening back up, and obviously getting there. But it was generating a lot of money, man. A lot of money. But yeah, I definitely want to get away from here. The plan is to get another place down in the Keys. It's just a different property. So, but I'm gonna 1031 whatever buildings I end up the buildings when I sell them. So that's the forecast to my future plans. But so if anybody knows, I'm a hard money lender. So that's what I do. I lend money at high interest rates, between 10 and 12% depending. My LTVs used to be 35% minimum, and they've gone up after COVID to 50%. So obviously the property's got to be worth at least 50% from, I only lend 50% of what the property is worth. So just in case, y'all know now. For the realtors out there, trust me, I got a lot of realtors that are like, hey, they send me stuff, and I'm very particular because it's not like I have endless funds because it's my private funding. So, but at the end of the day, I am particular on where I lend. So
that's interesting. I didn't realize that you could do 50% lending. I thought most everybody was doing 70 and 80.
Well, No, depends. I was lending 65%, and now I'm only lending 50. Because
that's only on a first, or you do a second also?
First, no way. I don't do no second. And it's got to be corporate owned, even if it's a single family home. I have everything trust me, I've been doing this now for 5 years, so I have my attorneys in place. Everything is done correctly. Okay, and it's a pretty seamless. I've never had, put it this way, I've never had a loan go bad for me so far. Even now in these bad times, not even one. I've had renters not pay me, but I've never had a loan not pay me because they have big skin in the game, you know. So
yeah,
that's the key.
Yeah.
What's your name? You're the lender, Alex?
Yeah, Alex Giraldo.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex. No.
Just covering a lot on his hard money programs and how he's gotten a lot more conservative, even though he has a lot of funds, almost infinite.
Nice.
I'm also a private money lender, but you always like to borrow other people's money and lend yours. So.
Wow, that's funny. You know, I had one actually call me the other day too about that too. And she's like, listen, I do this for a living too, but I got it all tied up. I was like, okay. That's funny. Really funny you said that.
Hey guys, for those of you that joined, it seems that we're having a little bit of issues with the link for the Zoom. So yeah, we have a few more people joining in. Let's just give it a few minutes. Anyway, just like the meetings, you know, we have a little bit of networking. We'll have a little bit of Zoom conversations, even though we can't have many at once. Hey Billy, thank you for joining us. Dion, what's up, buddy?
Excuse me, guys.
So Tina, you do hard money lending as well?
Yes. Private money lending. I usually don't source with other people. I use my own capital.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And you've lowered your LTV as well, loan to value lending?
A little bit, but I've actually have it all out at the moment, and so I have redistributed the funds momentarily. So I'm not making any new loans at the moment, but I would if I got that capital back, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
What was your name?
Christina. You'll see it as Tina on the webcam,
Tina
on the
what's
Zoom.
that? Oh, Tina. All right.
Yep.
What are you on WhatsApp? On the WhatsApp chat?
It's actually under Christina Murr.
Oh, yes. All right. So we do the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to you privately and heck, we can brainstorm together. I can tell you what I do and you can tell me what you do. And,
sure.
And I can assure you I've been doing that for 5 years. So if anything, you'll probably hear a few little tricks on my side to protect yourself. So
sure, you can always learn something from someone else.
Of course.
Everybody, there's a million ways to structure a deal.
Absolutely. No, we can actually throw each other leads because that exact thing happens to me. When I'm out of funds, I still get my calls from my people, you know, and then I'm there trying to either broker it, you know, and I don't necessarily like to broker the deals, to be honest with you. So it's just like real estate. I don't like to practice real estate anymore. You know, it's just like it's tedious, you know, and then it's so it's for me. It's rather like I'd rather lend my own things and you know run my own stuff, you know. So
right.
Yeah, I gotcha. I feel you.
Yes, for sure. Understandable.
I can't wait for this to be live again. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, Sebastian always has a great place booked somewhere, man. You know,
Yeah.
He doesn't disappoint.
Hey, we're always on it, man. I mean, thankfully, we have a good team, honestly. You know, they have their own strengths in what they do, and so it allows us to do really good at a few good things,
Absolutely.
like the booking channels and all that. And we're
You
going
have to have a strong team. That is important.
it's
A
key.
strong team is key, for sure.
100.
All right, guys, I think 25 minutes is pretty good. Thank you for everyone joining us again. Hey, we're here. We're still meeting. We're not going to be stopped. May Zoom meetup. I would have never guessed it if you told me just the beginning of the year. Here we are. We have Christy Krepss. She is specialized a lot in the condo multifamily part. She's done very well, and you know what? Quite frankly, she has added a lot of value in the group in terms of navigating through this whole virus and being able to keep your units booked for longer terms. This is pretty much the title of this meetup is how to increase, not how, get more big bookings for your condo and single family homes, because this is all new to us, and so there are ways that we've done pretty good, and we wanna share our good stories with you guys, what we've learned, what has worked for us should work for you, and also what the strengths of this, what we've learned, and what where we're headed, right? So what we predict is happening. I have a presentation. And so, like I was saying, Christy Krepss, she's gonna go ahead and elaborate on the condos and condo multifamily part, smaller units, and I will speak on the single family homes. It's very interesting how we've done compared to each other, and I think we balanced the presentation that we have ready for you guys right now. So welcome in, Christy.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be able to contribute to the group, and I love reading all the chats that everyone has and providing insight where I can. I'm going to go ahead and share it. Let's see. If you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen.
Go for it.
I have a little PowerPoint where we can kind of go over. So I just kind of wanted to talk about how you can fill your rentals without relying on Airbnb. I feel like Airbnb has let us down a little bit in the last couple months. And I had already sort of been transitioning to longer term rentals, not permanent rentals, but longer term, whether it's, just a couple months at a time. And I've been utilizing personally Furnish Finder and CrashPad 411. So I wanted to just kind of tell you about my experience with these two services, and hopefully it'll be of value to some of you. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I work in healthcare IT currently. I'm in the middle of a career change to give myself some more freedom. That career change doesn't have to do with Airbnb. I just kind of do this on the side. I've been doing Airbnb for just about a year, so I am a little bit newer to the game. I've been using Furnish Finder for about 6 months. And I've been using CrashPad 411 for about 6 years. So that's actually where I started with the whole real estate and renting out units, was on CrashPad 411. I did want to mention that I don't rely on the income from my rentals to support myself. They're really more investments. So that does give me a little bit more flexibility in terms of if they're not performing, I'm not eating, right? So things have certainly been a little bit slower for me through COVID, but it hasn't really affected me all that much, just because any money I get from these is just icing on the cake. So that may put me in a little bit of a different place than some other people. So I just wanted to point that out. So just to tell you a little bit about my portfolio, I have 2 properties that I own. The first one is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It also has a detached studio apartment. In the house, the 3 bedrooms I rent out individually. So with that property, I have 3 rooms as well as a studio apartment. The second property is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It also has 2 attached studio apartments. And the house itself is rented by a long-term tenant that I inherited. So I'm kind of just going to leave that one out of the game in terms of this talk. So the 2 studio apartments are the ones that I have listed on Airbnb and the other websites. So first, let's kind of go into CrashPad 411. I think a lot of people are a little bit familiar with Furnish Finder, which we'll get to in a second. But CrashPad 411, I imagine, is something that a lot of people probably haven't had experience with. So I'm going to go into a little bit more depth with that. I do want to say that this likely won't fit for many people, but if it does, give some ideas to some people out there, I hope that you'll get something out of this. So what is a crash pad? It's really for aviation professionals. I mean, there are several different ways to think of a crash pad, but specifically for aviation professionals, it's a temporary dwelling that's located at their home base. So why crash pads? Like, why is that a thing for aviation professionals in particular? So I just thought I'd go through that a little bit. So aviation professionals, and the reason I know this is because I was married in a previous life to a pilot. So that's kind of how I fell into the whole crash pad thing. So aviation professionals have a home base, which is where their trips typically start and end. Often, though, this home base isn't where the person actually lives. So someone might live in Orlando, but they're based out of Fort Lauderdale. So they need lodging in Fort Lauderdale. When they're working, the airlines will cover lodging in any city that they fly to. If they have overnights, that hotel is paid for, but in Fort Lauderdale, if they're based out of Fort Lauderdale, the airlines don't cover that. So they have to make sure that they have lodging, reliable lodging at their home base. And that's their responsibility in terms of payment. And then often people in aviation are on call. And so when they get called, they have to report to the airport, typically within 2-ish hours. So you can't really commute from Orlando. You can't be on call and get a call and say, okay, I'll be in Fort Lauderdale in 2 hours. So they really need a room where they're based. So that's the need for the crash pad. To tell you a little bit more about crash pads, a typical crash pad, and I don't have a typical crash pad, I'll just say that. A typical crash pad has several people to a room, even with potentially 10 to 13 people sharing a home. So I think originally the way crash pad started was, a bunch of pilots would pool together and say, hey, I have to be in LAX, that's where I'm based. Let's all rent this house together. And when we're here, great. When we're not, it's empty. So it does work because typically people are on the road more often than not, or they go back to their normal home. So often there's only a few people there at a time. Crash padders will pay for an entire month, but they may only use the facilities 8 or 10 days or so in that month. There's a term that they use in the crash pad world, hotbed and cold bed. So let's talk about what those are. So a hotbed is sort of used on a first come, first served basis. So it's not dedicated to a person. So let's say there's a room with 4 different beds. You come in, after a flight, you just pick whatever bed's available. It's not your bed that you're sleeping in. It's just a bed that's available. Typically, these are offered at a cheaper rate than dedicated beds. And then the concept of a cold bed is just the opposite. It's a bed that you are dedicated to, so no one else is going to sleep in that. For hot beds, they'll typically bring their own sheets, so you don't have to worry about turnovers and things like that. But a cold bed, you don't have to worry about changing sheets either because it's just their bed. They're responsible for changing their sheets. Now, even though it may be a cold bed, it could potentially still be in a shared room. So there may be 4 beds in a room, but that bed is theirs. And then take it one step further, you could offer private rooms to people. And that's what I found people really like on the website that I use, which is CrashPad 411. So the website, CrashPad 411, it charges $49 a year to have a listing. There's not a ton of listings on that website for our area, so there's not a great deal of competition. And when I finish talking about this website, we can pop in there and just kind of have you take a look at it as well. So there are a couple of idiosyncrasies with running a CrashPad that don't really apply to Airbnb and what have you. So you have to be close to an airport in order for this to work. So I'm in Hollywood, close to Fort Lauderdale Airport. Interestingly enough, a couple of my renters have been based out of Miami. I thought that was surprising that they would, come to Hollywood being based out of Miami, but whatever. I took them. They were willing to pay. So the renters are nearly always looking for just a room. They don't want studio apartments. They don't want houses. They just want a room, whether it's private or shared. They tend to prefer the private ones, but they'll do shared as well, which shared probably offers a little bit more income opportunity if you're going to have shared rooms. It's just that's not the avenue I chose to take. I give them their private rooms. Most renters will be flight attendants as opposed to pilots. I have had a couple pilots over the 6 or 7 years that I've been doing this, but more often than not, it's a flight attendant. I've noticed that having a kitchen and a washer dryer are nice, but they're not actual deal breakers, as opposed to like with Furnish Finder. I find that if you don't have those, they don't want to look at you. Another thing I just wanted to point out is that if you look at the listings on the CrashPad 411 website, the prices seem super low, but many of those aren't private rooms. So if you're looking at a room that's offered at $380 a month or something like that, and they have 6 beds in a room, that actually is a lot of money. But you look at it and you're like, $380, I could never make any money on that. Well, it just depends on how many beds you have. So, and also offering a private room will allow you to stand out from the crowd, and you can charge more. So I feel like I've been pretty successful with having the private rooms. Basically, any inquiries I get, typically they'll say, okay, yeah, I want it.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the amount of...
what price point do you have for your studios, if you don't mind me asking?
So these are just for a room. So this is in the house. I have 3 different bedrooms that I do this with. The CrashPad doesn't work with the studios that I have.
They don't.
So I charge $650, $700 per month. So it's definitely lower, probably not as much as one might get. I think you could get away with charging, $800 or so. And just kind of take it from there. It's very stable. So that's what I like about it. I'll go into the pros and cons in a second.
That's because I'm literally like 5 minutes from the airport, from Miami International. So that would be ideal. I was like, what? Yeah, that price point, it's like almost half of what I would normally rent. You know what I'm saying? Right.
So it can be lower. I mean, it's just the way you set it up, whether if you pack more people into it, then that could potentially bring the price up. Because I don't rely on the income for living, I can get away with, maybe not making the most out of the properties that I have. I think of this more as long-term, my retirement income. And it's nice that I'm making money now. But I think there are ways that you could make it work, if it's something you wanted to commit to by adding more beds and things like that.
Gotcha.
Okay, so let's talk about the pros and the cons of CrashPad. So the pros is it's reliable income, so you don't have to worry about, are the reservations coming? Are they not coming? I mean, you get someone in there and they stay for a while. One thing that I like about it is that all aviation professionals must have background checks. They're pretty extensive background checks, so you're not getting any riffraff whatsoever. I like that. It's stable income. Over the 6 years that I've had this, not only have I not had someone not pay rent, I've never even had anyone be late for rent. So I think that's, just focusing on this one niche group of people has really worked in terms of reliability. And it's barely any work. I mean, I get them in there. I don't clean their rooms. There's no turnarounds. So no work on my part, essentially, for this.
Right.
The cons, it's not as lucrative as short-term rentals. So, I mean, I'm very upfront about that. And even though you don't have to do turnarounds, you do need to perform interviews or give tours. You know, sometimes I'll do them virtually through like FaceTime or what have you, but they do typically want to look at the property before committing to it. I have had a couple situations where personalities within the house kind of clashed. That hasn't happened too often, but it could happen. So let's just talk about how I run my crash pad. So this is one of the rooms that I have. You know, it has a bed, just very minimal furnishing. I offer private beds, so I don't do the hot bed thing. I have just a minimal deposit, $300 to $500. I do a month-to-month rental with 15 days notice when they do need to leave. And I decorate it for them. It is fully furnished. I state in my listing that the price is for use of the facilities 15 days or less per month. If they need to use it more than that, I increase the price by $200 per month. And I found that often my crash padders stay with me for a long time. I've had one that stayed with me for 2 or even 3 years. The average time is over a year that they stay with me. So it is reliable, consistent, if you don't mind having a little bit of a less, decreased income with it. So I wanted to just pop into the website real quick and show you guys what it looks like. Oh,
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
With a mere $300, $500 deposit, have you had any issues with anything happening? No?
No. And that's why I feel comfortable asking for such a little deposit. I've never had to keep any deposit ever. I mean, it's just amazing that these people are so respectful. I think the background checks really speaks volume to how much you can trust them.
Great to know.
Hey, yeah. Christy, a quick question. This is Diego. You say that you only rent a room to an individual. If I have a large room where I can put, 2 bunk beds, do you still charge the same amount, or does it come?
No, you wouldn't charge that much. I think you could charge, $300 to $400 per bed. But if you have four beds, that adds up. I'm going to show you a couple of listings. Actually, I found one that had 6 bed, 3 different bunk beds in one room. I think they were charging $300. Ended up being like $200. We did the math. It was like $2,700 for the 6 beds. And that's just one room. So I think there is a lot of potential. The way I do it probably isn't maximizing the potential as much as it could. But there is certainly potential if that's the route you wanted to go. So this is kind of the landing page. Actually, before we go in here, any other questions? No? Okay. So this is the landing page, and then the user you can see my the website, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to put in here FLL, which is the code for Fort Lauderdale, and search. So I've had some people look at this and just be like totally scared away by the prices that you're seeing. So 380, 250, but let's see if I can find that one that I was just talking to you about.
How many people can you put in a room?
I mean, it really just depends on the room that you have. If it's a big enough room, you could pack it as full as you want. You could have 3 different bunk beds in a room, 4 different bunk beds.
But you have it at a minimum 15 days that they can stay, right? And so does that mean you're gonna sell that bed to 2 people?
Potentially. So it's a maximum that they can stay.
Right.
Excuse me. I'm not seeing the listing that I wanted to show you. I think this one up here, though.
But wouldn't it be unusual? Wouldn't it be unusual for them to stay that long, 15 days?
Yeah, but they're staying like a couple days here and there. So, you know, they'll stay for 3 days. They'll go off on a trip for 5 days. They'll come back. They might have a week, you know, between trips. A week, they won't usually stay a week at a time.
Right.
Point of clarification, Christy. So maximum of 15 days. Does that mean you when you say a month is really 15 days?
Yeah, basically they're paying for the month, and then they can come and go as they want during that month, but up to 15 days.
Oh, I see. So you can't. So it's not from January 1st to 15th, and then 15th to the 30th, as an example. It's the entire month. They have access however they want to do it, and the times that they're not there, the bed just sits there empty.
Yeah, but so that's where this whole hot bed versus cold bed thing comes into play. If you charge, if you're going to do a hot bed, then, you know, people will come and go and they'll stay in whatever bed. And so you would charge a little less for that. But if you're going to have someone have a dedicated bed, then you could charge a little bit more, you know, $100 or $150 per person more per bed. And then that does limit your ability to use that bed. But, you know, you don't have as many people coming and going. So here's one example. You can just see in this one, there's 2 bunk beds in this room. They're charging $380. So I'm just going to do the math real quick.
So those 4 beds, you would sell that 8 times or 12 times?
I would probably sell it probably 6 or 8. I wouldn't go more than 12, you know, because it is a little bit, you don't know how often people are going to be there. So you don't want to book it too much.
Right.
So that's 4. So, oh, my calculator. I'm not good at doing math in my head.
Christy, do you have your contact information for us all, or is there somewhere we can get it? If it has been sent out, I'm sorry, but I'd love to, if you're okay, if there's questions,
yeah, absolutely.
Reach out to you about this particular site and how to structure it.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'm on the WhatsApp group. If you're in there, I think my name there is
Perfect.
DK.
Okay, you said it was, repeat that, I'm sorry. Say that again.
DK.
CK. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So looking at just this room, which has almost no furniture whatsoever, if they were to just do these as cold beds, which means they're dedicated, so you wouldn't rent this out to anyone else. You'd only have 4 people renting this room. This is $1,500 just for one room. If you have 3 bedrooms, multiply that by 3, that's $4,500 for the house. Do you have any water over there? Yeah. Thanks. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit parched. Let's look at one other one. This one's mine, so I have it listed as $750. I do have one room that's a little bit smaller. I charge $100 less for that one. Anyway, you get the point. I'm trying to find, oh, here it is. So this one's $450 a month. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beds in one room.
Wow.
That's crazy. And people will rent it. And then here's another room. It's just 2 beds. So they would probably charge more for this room because there's not going to be as many people. So anyway, that's the CrushPad 411 website. Any other questions about this?
And you said you don't supply sheets, and you don't clean the bed, the sheets, or the rooms. How do you deal with that?
So I don't. Well, I will, like, before someone moves in. But if they're because I have my people for so long, I won't do regular cleanings. I was for a while offering at an additional price to have a cleaning service go in, and they were paying that for a while, but when COVID hit, they didn't want additional people coming into the house. So they stopped paying for that. And now they're just in charge of, keeping the place tidy themselves. So I'm not really involved in the cleaning of the house at all, but they seem to keep it in fair shape. When you have 3 different people living in a house that aren't related, I think they kind of worry they don't want to piss off anyone else. So they keep it nice and clean.
And they're not friends either. So
yeah, they're not friends, so they don't like step on each other's toes or take advantage of each other. All right, so let's go into Furnish Finder. I think a lot of people are a little more familiar with Furnish Finder. So I don't have as much to say about this, but I do want to just tell you about my experience. So with Furnish Finder, that was a website that was originally built for travel nurses, but I find that others use it as well. It's not just for travel nurses. Furnish Finder doesn't charge any booking fees. It's just a yearly fee. You receive a lead, and then it's up to you to call or email or text the prospective tenant. Most messaging is done outside of the website or the app, through, just texting them or calling them. I found that responding immediately when you get a lead gives you the advantage. I have heard several other people mention that they've used Furnish Finder and they find that the leads they get are just so inundated with people reaching out to them. I actually haven't found that to be the case personally. Usually when I reach out to people, I am very quick when I reach out to them, but I don't get feedback that they have a lot of options. In fact, I've had several people that seemed desperate. They're like, I need a place, I can't find anything. But I know I've heard 2 other people say exactly the opposite, that they will reach out to someone, won't get any response because the feedback they've heard is that those people are just inundated with people reaching out to them like crazy. So I don't know if it's just my type of property or where I'm located that I'm not experiencing that, but I guess it's something that is possible. The cost to have a listing on Furnish Finder is $99 per year. You can pay an extra $75 to have an owner verified badge where they will look into the public records, make sure you're the owner of the property. I've done that. Does it help? I don't know, probably not, but it's just a one-time fee.
I did it.
You did it? I do recommend using the website and not the app. I found that app just never loads anything. It's just kind of wonky. So that's just a little tip from me to you. A couple of idiosyncrasies with renting to travel nurses. So I did mention that other people use Furnish Finder, not just travel nurses, but for whatever reason, I think my properties really work for the travel nurses. And so that's all I seem to get. So I'm really just going to focus on them, but realize that there are other opportunities with Furnish Finder outside of travel nurses. So in order for this to work, you do have to be close to several hospitals. I think all of us probably are, though. There's hospitals on every corner. Travel nurses will typically sign a 3-month contract with a hospital, and they receive a housing stipend more often than not. What I've heard is like a $1,200 to $1,500 stipend that they get. Travel nurses are nearly always looking for private spaces. So those rooms that I have available on the CrashPad website, they would never want that. They always want my studio apartment. So it's nice that I have the 2 studios. Actually 3 studios, sorry. One's under renovation right now, so it's not available. So I have the 3 studios and then the 3 bedrooms, and it just kind of works to have those. So the studio apartments work really well. I think 1 bedrooms work really well for travel nurses as well. I found often the travel nurses have pets, so that's something to keep in mind if you're going to be targeting this demographic. And another thing I found is that because travel nurses aren't familiar with market rate rent in the area, and because they get a housing allowance, I can charge significantly more than if I were to rent my studio to a local. You know, in Hollywood, I think a studio apartment might go for like $900 a month, whereas I can charge for a studio apartment $1,500. $1,500 might not be enough in Brickell, you know, so I think it's very, it depends on where you are, but this just seems to work really well for me in Hollywood. Let's see. So pros and cons. A lot of the pros are very similar to the CrashPad website. It's a reliable income. You don't have to worry about the reservations. You know, you get it for 3 months at a time, and you can just kind of rest easy for those 3 months until the next one comes. Again, all healthcare professionals must have background check, so no riffraff. They have stable income, so they've never been late for rent either. And no turnarounds. Well, no, I should say no daily turnarounds. You turn the property around after they leave, but you're not doing weekly cleanings and things like that. The cons, again, I will be the first to admit, it doesn't have as much income potential as short-term rentals, such as Airbnb. That said, honestly, like I'm doing Airbnb in one of my studios because I don't have a longer-term tenant right now. And it was crap for me for May. I barely made anything. So my studio that did have a longer term rental, actually Deontay found this person for me. So I know he's not on the call, but thanks Deontay. So I got more income with that property for the long-term tenant than I did with, you know, listing one of my studios on Airbnb. So, and then the one thing is there isn't a ton of demand right now. At first when COVID hit, I did see a lot of, you know, travel nurses coming, but that's kind of, I think they got their assignments and we're in the middle of a cycle right now. So I'm not getting a ton of demand. Hopefully it'll pick up again soon. So here's a picture of the studio apartment that I have. How I run it, I already mentioned I only do the studio for the Furnish Finder. Again, I do just a minimal deposit that hasn't come back to bite me at all, thank goodness. I guess if it does, I'll probably end up raising it. I do have them sign a rental agreement. So it's kind of like a 3-month lease, if you will. Well, I guess it's not a lease, but it's an agreement. They do month to month. I tell them just give me 15 days notice if you need to leave. You know, it's fully decorated, has all of everything they need for the kitchen and all of that. I do allow pets, and that's it. So do you guys want me to show you a bit of the Furnish Finder website, or are you familiar enough with that website that you don't feel you need a little tour of it?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. All right, so here is Furnish Finder. As an end user or as a traveler, you just kind of come here and say, Hollywood, Florida. I'm not a big fan of the user interface with Furnish Finder, and the CrashPad 411 is very simple, but it doesn't like ever do anything wrong. But sometimes Furnish Finder can be buggy. Let's just go back here. Search rentals. I'll just say my budget's $2,400, see what we get. All right, so here you can see there are rooms that are listed. So here's a room that's for $950 a month, $1,700 a month, $1,200 a month. So certainly more than I'm charging for the crash pads. But I do have those rooms listed on Furnish Finder, and I almost get no inquiries from them whatsoever. Here's an entire unit for $1,850. Here's a $1,400 a month for a cozy apartment with private courtyard. Let's just look at that. So you are able to set fees. So you can ask for a cleaning fee. You set your deposit. If you allow pets, you can have a fee for the deposit, whether it's refundable or non-refundable. You have the ability to control that. So this looks like it's just, it says, yeah, it's a studio. So $1,400 for a studio, that's, you know, around the same price point that I have. Which again, renting this to a local, I could really only get about $1,000 for that. So it is more lucrative than just a typical rental. So let's go to my dashboard. And this is where you get your tenant leads. You do get emailed the leads, and you get a text message when you have new leads. And we'll just look at a lead real quick. So they'll tell you a little bit about who they are and what they need. This person has 4 travelers, so I know right away that this isn't a good lead for me because I don't have room for 4 travelers. They do give you a budget. For some reason, when they email you the lead, they don't tell you the budget in the email. You have to come and look here. And then they also have what they call unmatched leads. So this is a lead. I don't know why it matched with me. I guess because they only said they need 1 bedroom. But they show you unmatched leads as well. So sometimes they'll match with me on my studio part or on my the room that I have for rent, but I've realized that a studio apartment would be better fit for them. So I like to see the unmatched ones because I might have something that fits their needs. And then if there's something that doesn't, so like this matched with my room, they're saying that they want their own unit. So that's why it thinks it doesn't match. They do want a pool. I don't have that. So it kind of calls out where you don't match. As you can see, I've gotten a lot of leads over the last couple months. Not a ton, actually. I've deleted a few. Not sure what else to show you. You do have the ability to tell it as you're setting up your property how far you want to consider leads. So do you want to stay in a 10-mile radius, a 15, 20-mile radius? So that kind of widens your net a little bit. Any other question with Furnish Finder?
I think that sets a pretty good idea. Christy, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for allowing me to share. I'm happy to let you know about anything. If you want to write down my phone number, you guys, if you have a pen, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share any information that I can with you. My name's Christy, but on the WhatsApp group, I show up as CK. And my phone number is 208-720-1563. Is there a chat feature here? Maybe I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, yeah. You can put it on the chat.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Just choose everyone in the meeting.
Okay.
Just a quick question. A 3-2 close to Miami Airport with a pool. For maximum capital, maximum money flow, how would you do it?
A 3-2 close to the airport with a pool, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
I would probably put, so you have to strike a balance. You know, you don't want to just pack people in there like sardines. They won't be happy with that.
6 beds.
Yeah. I would probably have one dedicated room that you charge, you know, maybe $900 a month for, or something like that. And then in one of the rooms, I might have, 2 beds. And then another room, I would have 2 bunk beds or maybe even 3 bunk beds. So you kind of offer different things between the 3 rooms, and they can kind of pick and choose which ones they want. And by having the private room that you do charge a little bit more for, but you wouldn't get as much as you would for, the rooms that have the bunk beds.
What would you charge for the 2-bedroom or the 2 beds and the 2 to 4 beds, the 2 to 4 bunk beds?
Now that I think about it, I think I'm going to change what I said. I would have 2 of the rooms be, well, I don't know. The private rooms work really well, but you don't get as much income potential for them. Okay, so for a shared room that has 2 beds, I would probably charge like $500 per bed in the room that has 2 beds. And then in the room that has the bunk beds, that'll be your most lucrative one. I would probably charge, $350 or $400 per bed.
Excellent. I had another question. So the common areas obviously can be used by everybody.
Mhm.
The refrigerator, the stove, right? The washing machine, if they so need it. You have a cleaning crew come in and clean those areas?
So I've done both. I've had it where I just tell them you're responsible for cleaning, make sure that it's fine. I've had it where I've given a discount to one of the people if I put them in charge of cleaning, but I find after a while they get tired of it because then nobody cares about cleaning and they feel like they're getting the brunt of it and it's not worth it for them. So that I've tried, didn't work so well. I did have a cleaning lady come in once a month and I charged extra for that. That did work well, but then when this whole COVID thing hit, it kind of fell apart. So I would probably say, build it in to your price, charge an extra, $50 per person. If you have 10 people, that works well.
There you go. Okay.
Charge extra $50 per person, have someone come in, once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, if you want to keep your expenses down. And then at least they're getting, it's getting refreshed, and grime's not building up too much.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Christy, you don't mind me asking, are you getting much movement with hardly any flights going in and out nowadays?
Well, I have 3 flight attendants. 2 of them are newer. I've only had them for a couple months. One of my flight attendants has been with me for a year. They have been saying that they're flying a lot less, but because they pay per month, so they are staying more than typical. Although one of the girls lives in Orlando, so she's actually only been there a couple days this month, and they still pay. One guy, he does live there, but he has a private room, so it's fine. And then the other one commutes. So while there are fewer flights, I don't find that it's affecting me whatsoever.
So in your opinion, now that Diego was asking about his 3-2 home with a pool, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually ask you to see your opinion on the studios. These are small studios. They're the size of a hotel room. Okay.
Okay.
So it has a queen bed. So obviously, in other words, if I were to go ahead and rent out these, they're brand new. I will tell you, everything is like sparkling. I mean, brand new. We completely rebuilt the whole building in 2019. So it would be better for me to put like a bunk bed in there instead of the queen that's in there right now.
Yes. Okay. So if it's a studio apartment, but you're going to have people share the space. So
Right.
To rent it out to one person, that wouldn't make sense. As a crash padder, right? They just won't pay enough. But if you have, one bunk bed still wouldn't make enough. I think when you're getting to 2 bunk beds or even 3 bunk beds, if it's big enough for that. So let's just do a little bit of math. Let me see.
Yeah, it's small. Imagine it's a hotel room. You can maybe squeeze two bunk beds, but you're looking at being, you're not gonna have anywhere to walk.
Yeah. Okay. So if you charge, let's just say, I'm going to say 400 times 4. Oh gosh. 1,600 a month. So I don't know how much you're charging right now.
I rent them out. I have 2 tenants. One pays me $1,350. The other one pays me $1,200.
Okay.
With a regular queen bed. That's on the normal, rent. Obviously, not Airbnb. Airbnbs, I'm in the 2000s. But it's but it's something to consider, I guess. Now and during these times, if you want to go there,
Yeah.
But I definitely want at least a minimum $1,200 coming in.
Yeah. So if you had 4 beds in there, 2 bunk beds, getting $1,600, that's an increase for you. I would say though, for the studio apartment doing the not the crash pad, but the furnish finder thing. I know you were one of the people that said you haven't had a lot of luck with that. I don't know if it's just your area or whatever, but you said is it the Brickell one that?
Yeah, it's not in Brickell. It's near the airport. It's between Brickell and the airport. How about that? So,
Okay. I would think so. Mount Sinai is not too far from there, right?
Yeah, that's more on the beach. But I mean, listen, I thought Furnish Finder would be the key. I mean, heck, I'm right next to Jackson Memorial, UM, the VA. I mean, you can get to any of those places in 5-7 minutes. So,
yeah. And it's just not doing anything for you. Because I would think you could charge $1,700 for them.
I registered about a month and a half ago. So
yeah.
Maybe like you said, maybe you told me now you were a little slow, maybe things have been a little sluggish because of the COVID. Obviously, I didn't need this prior to COVID. So
right.
I just saw it on our group chat. I was like, let me just sign up, whatever, $175. And so I tried it. And again, as we were talking earlier, it's just the results weren't, most of them wouldn't just plain out not respond, and then some of them are like, which one are you? And this and that. And it's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll get back to you, and it's like they never get back. And I was like, huh. So
that's so weird. I find that almost I get responses from nearly everyone from Furnish Finder, at least whether they say I found something or what have you. Maybe it's because as soon as I get it, I reach out to them. So maybe I'm one of the first ones and they're like, oh yeah, I have someone responding. But I just haven't found that. And in terms of them not knowing who you are, usually what I'll say is, I saw your housing request on Furnish Finder. I have a couple of, properties that might work for you. Would you like me to send pictures? So I'm not having to go back and forth, like which listing was mine. I just, send them a couple pictures, and then whether it jogs their memory, maybe they didn't even see your property in the first place. But I'd like to think my pictures are nice, and they seem to respond well to it.
Okay. Great to hear. Thank you for the feedback. So you don't think that just one pair of bunk beds at $600 a piece, let's just say for, they could share it instead of the queen, would at least give me the $1,200, let's say? I
think it's possible. Yeah.
You think it would possibly work? Yeah.
Yeah.
I might do the move. I might do it.
Yeah.
Try it out. Just on one of them. Check it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, I like renting to people that are not local.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I mean, for the most part, the local community, they just want a nickel and dime, and it's a little bit frustrating. But,
And in the airline industry, they really do their due diligence on everyone there. It
sounds promising. No joke.
It's so true.
They're in line. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to the second part of our meeting, which is, on single family homes. This is, Christy, what I get from your take, what you gave us is that it's more of an offhand approach. It's definitely something more suitable for somebody that has a main income and then a side hustle. It sounds like it requires much less attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I did those programs much less in not many of our properties, but we're still solid on short-term rental and particularly Airbnb as well. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Here you go. All right. So, let's start with some positivity. Things are getting better now. Since the 20th, we saw an increase in our bookings. The stay-at-home expired on May 4th, and Miami-Dade, well, mainly Broward, started opening the 18th of May of this month. And as of right now, we're getting a lot of last-minute bookings. So I think we've shared in the chat a lot that we're all doing much better, and I think it's safe to say that we're past the worst on this whole crisis, whatever you want to call it. And another really important thing is that it's our cancellation policies. As you might expect, people are looking for more flexibility in these times. what we've learned throughout this time period, you know, so much education and different, you know, just a whole different swing. Yeah, have a desk at your property. We've had guests that are sick of being in their condo, so they're looking for space and they're looking for somewhere that they can work and focus on what they have to do. So a desk is very important. We've been doing a lot of traveling, you know, leisure travel, since it's disposable income will come after corporate travel. So we're you know, that goes to support have a desk, because people are looking to travel, and you know, corporate travel will rebound faster. We developed a good, pretty, and we're still working on it. It's a really it's we have to be very consistent as far as the social media platforms, but you know, this does take work and time. And you know, we're visible throughout Instagram, Google, LinkedIn presence. We have a saying in our group, in our team. We were just stressing with Christina how the whole a team counts. You know, it's very important to have a team. Whether it's a small operation, you still have a team with your housekeepers, but every booking counts. That's something that's known throughout our group, our team, and everyone, you know, has that in mind. And lastly, I've mentioned that several times. I think Dion is also navigating his way. You know, unfortunately, Airbnb and you know, all the platforms, they haven't supported us hosts in a way that we're satisfied. And so a direct booking portal, your own website, is more important than ever. I can go through my website if you guys want to see it later after the presentation. But yeah, we have gotten bookings through there, and you guys will see a pie chart of where we get our bookings. You know, more to what we've learned is that hotels have slashed costs completely. They're just trying to survive right now. Amenities won't be around. For example, convention centers, you know, with these social distancing, you'll see that non-existent. So that's something we've seen. I thought this was really cool that Hilton did on a strategic alliance with Lysol. So, you know, a lot of thinking outside the box. Something that we're not gonna do in design, and you know, in terms of adding new homes or units, is less fabrics. And also, in as far as laundry and for linen, I recommend you guys have a system for that, because this is gonna be, you know, this is gonna be where the in linen and in sheets and such, it's more prone to catch any virus and, you know, just any particles. So just be wary of that. What we do is that we send it straight to the wash house if there isn't a washer and dryer that is suitable in the premises. So for a faster turnaround, we'll either bring the brand new linen and change it on the spot, leave that on the bag. But as soon as the housekeepers leave the property, straight to the wash house or washer and dryer. This is just in general for the state of Florida. This is how bookings have picked up, even though, you know, it's a small 2-month time span, right? Over here from April to May, we're already seeing it pick up, you know. Hopefully without a second wave, this will constantly go up, but it's something that, you know, we should still keep in mind. I was actually talking with Carolina from our group, and you know, always just we could expect that in the Spanish flu, you know, got 1918, it came back with a second wave, and the second wave was stronger than the first. So let's just keep that in mind, you know, keep some reserves on the side. But the really important thing to remember right now is that whoever makes it through is gonna have a sweet time once you know, everything subsides and we can actually at least have a better sense of normality. Now here we go to single family homes. I think this is very interesting because a majority of our portfolio of properties under management and just a few rental arbitrage are single family homes. So a majority of it is single family homes. Yeah, actually, most of it. Yeah, and with the exception of probably one. Yeah, one, which is in the Opera Tower. So these are, they're much lower density, meaning there is much less congestion as far as travelers and people. So single families have surged. Just another reason why is because of what I mentioned. People want to get out of condos. People want to have their own private area, want their own spaces. Condos have all their amenities pretty much blocked off. Until Monday, I believe condos in Miami will be able to open the pools. So this has been very beneficial for us. Also, in terms of cleaning and maintenance, quick response communication has been key. We keep getting that good review as far as communication. People love that. People love constant communication, even if it's hey, how are you doing? How was your first night in your stay? That people love it. People like to be pampered. People like to guests love to have somebody that's dedicating attention to them. 24/7 customer service. Believe it or not, we convert a lot of our bookings at inquiries. A lot of our inquiries that people ask at night. I guess a majority of hosts might not answer at night, but while it may be tedious for us, not a lot of people do it, and these have a high conversion. So there's ways to tackle this part, whether it be with a virtual assistant, you trying it out first. You have to know if it makes sense, or whatever avenue you want to take. And we use a channel manager called 365 Villas. It's a centralized platform. You do everything from there. You can have multiple logins, and it gives you exposure to many booking channels. In fact, they have so many that they don't recommend some towards you. They actually tailor your channel manager to the type of traveler you're most likely to have. So one that we're on is Canada Travel, and of course they like, we have those snowbirds. So I'm going to show you on the next slide. Let's see if it's here. Yes. So this is pretty much the bookings just so far this year. As you guys can see, is the diversity over here. Majority from Airbnb, but it has picked up throughout the year, and meaning in more bookings out of Airbnb. We just started using 365 in the beginning of this year, and I believe this platform, this channel manager, has allowed us to depend less and less on Airbnb. Now, let me warn you, it is difficult to get a good hang of it. It is gonna be very time consuming, but once you get it, you'll get it, and you'll be able to develop a good presence, and have a lot more exposure for all your properties in many more than just Airbnb. Just so you know, this unknown one over here is our website. These are direct bookings. These are sweet because Airbnb and all of these have a lot of commissions, fees, and so you take that away, but you still give them a little discount. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just let me know. And the easing of restrictions in Miami-Dade, we wanted to throw this in here so that you guys have a better idea of what to expect. Will be well informed in front of your guests. Right now on May 18th, and in Miami this Monday, June 1st, we're going into the yellow phase. So they have this by phases. This is from Miami-Dade County, but they're more or less Broward and Miami are using the same protocol that that has been suggested to them. So we're stepping into this one, which is limited open non-essential businesses and other facilities, strict capacity. Restaurants are at 50%, and they have a lot of procedures. I have a few details following. Yeah, but social requirements are like, face covering. They're always required. There is also, if what they're saying is that if the if a surge in in cases increases, then this will go back to the previous more strict protocols. As far as businesses, like I was saying, restaurants are 50%. Bars, unfortunately, they won't be opened yet, and tables will be limited to 4 people. Visitors and tenants always required to wash their hands in office buildings. Always, of course, a face mask, and personal grooming places, like for example, spas or barbershops. The capacities is up to 25% and a max of 10 people, and still 6 by 6 feet by 6 feet social distancing. And but this applies to employer companies and such, unless you install physical barriers. And this Monday in Miami, June 1st, beach is gonna be opening. So this is what you could expect. I grabbed the most relevant details for you guys, which is no more than 10 than groups of 10 people, no dogs, and no organized activities. There's also a few more, like the workout areas. Muscle Beach is still not gonna be open, and I believe, yes, that's pretty much the essence of it. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But in our experience, diversifying with single family homes has been key. Any questions, anyone?
I'm ready for the new normal.
Oh my God, I think we're all.
Yeah.
Sebastian, I'm sorry to chime in here, but just to add to what you were saying, or add emphasis, I guess also adding amenities to single family homes would also secure tenants, and the demand for being outside in the barbecue area and the pools and what have you. So an investment on that end is probably beneficial for short-term rentals.
You're right, and more now than any time, because these these amenities have been blocked off. So even we have our largest home fits up to 16 people, and it's like 2 acres, the lot in size. So just imagine the amount of activities that property brings. It has a huge pool, uh, a nice trampoline, a tennis court. So these are the spaces that people are looking to have. And, we just said the bars were going to be closed in restaurants. I can imagine. I don't know if your pool has a little bar area outside, Diego, but those little perks like that are helpful right now more than ever.
And that is to say, it doesn't have to be necessarily a single family home. It could also be a multi-family home with a fire pit or what have you as a communal amenity, right? Would that still be available for use in a situation like this? Where we have restrictions in condo buildings with amenities and the use and how many people per use. But if you have a sixplex with a pool, is there any restrictions like that, or is that really like a single family dwelling where you could do what you want without anybody really looking over your shoulder?
Well, a sixplex may be that may be able to accommodate more people, like a good amount of people, but I don't see why it would be a problem with a duplex or maybe even 3 units.
Thank you.
But little perks like a gym, just machines or something, even just a treadmill. I think those things right now are very, very, very helpful. Key Largo's opening finally. Well, for people that are not locals, that they don't have the Key Largo address on their ID, and that we're getting it right away in the Key Largo property. People want to get away.
Thank you.
All And that is it for me, guys. If you guys have any questions, Alex.
I have a question. So I was wondering how much you charge for your. So I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. The house that's one of my properties, and I've inherited a tenant, and I've been going back and forth with, do I want to let her go? Do I want to, turn that into an Airbnb? And if I did do an Airbnb, I would have to really spruce it up because it's a little bit in bad shape right now. But just wondering if it's worth the effort to go through to, make it nice enough Airbnb. So I guess my question is, how much do you charge for like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath per night? Just to give me an idea if it's worth putting on Airbnb.
There's a lot of variables to it. There's a lot of factors to it. Just by the looks of the house, that will change the price a lot, whether it's updated or not, how it is furnished, but and the area, of course. So that is something that I would take into account. I mean, I'll give you, where's your home located?
So it's in Hollywood, like off Sheridan near the 95, near Oakwood Plaza. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Sheridan. Oh, okay. Sheridan. So it's near Hollywood Boulevard?
Yeah, sort of. Hollywood Boulevard is the next major street up, but it's closer to Sheridan, which is, one major street north.
Gotcha. My first ever Airbnb was in Hollywood, and it was a single family home that we flipped. Mm-hmm. And that one would rent, it would, for, if I may be mistaken, but it was from $250 to $350.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was it a nice area of Hollywood? The area I'm in is just meh. It's not horrible, but it's not nice.
It was in a nice area, quite honestly. I remember I jogged, I ran to the beach, to Hollywood.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a nice area.
That was like 3 miles away, yeah.
Okay.
Sebastian, did you say you were going to show your site, or did I miss something?
Yeah, definitely show it.
Christy, in the meantime, while Sebastian's pulling the site up, I think it's Sebastian, you could also go on to Airbnb and just kind of do a search in your area to see what's available, because I think I know where you are, mm-hmm. and you may not be able to charge as much as that Hollywood area, but you'd probably still be able to charge a decent amount because you're east of 95, correct? Didn't you say that?
Yeah, east of 95.
Yeah, so you could still make a good profit because you're still close enough to the attractions as well as to the stadium and so forth, the Miami Stadium. So I would just suggest going on and kind of doing a search for your area and see what's available, and you can kind of look at the prices and the options and make that decision if it's lucrative. That's just my suggestion.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Definitely. And there's a website called AirDNA, and they charge $40 per zip code, but it's worth the try, to have as much clarity as possible. B&B Investor is another one. It's much cheaper and it won't be per zip code. So that would, and then of course, going into Airbnb will also help you. Let me share my screen for you.
Sebastian, would you mind putting that in the chat or somewhere as well? Those different places, or in the WhatsApp later on, of the different websites you just mentioned?
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
All right, I'm putting it right now, and B&B Investor. Okay, that's 2 right there. Yeah, those are the main ones I use. Let me see. Okay, great. I just put it in the chat. So DNA.com or
thank you. Perfect. Thank you.
I had a presentation today from another one called Transparent. I'm putting it as well, and they really amazed me because they put your listing and they compare it to others entirely. That would be like a lot more analysis. I don't think you guys may need it unless you want to do an analysis on a much bigger investment. Then it will be worth a shot because they are a lot more expensive. All right, let me. I'm gonna share my screen here. And
Hey, Chrissy, side note, you will make more money though.
Yeah. I just wonder if it will be enough to, justify having to furnish it, having to spruce it up, all of the extra work. It probably will be.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
It's a little pain at the front end, but you'll forget about it once you start to collect the checks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And the beauty of this is really, Christy, that you could automate this. You really could. I know we've heard tons of stories, but once you get the system together, once you understand the process and the steps, then you start seeing how you can delegate to other people. I'll give you my example right now. We work with 3 virtual assistants. 2 are in Venezuela and 1 is in Spain, and they're awesome. Like the amount of the burden of work that they take off our hands is incredible. So
Nice.
That in itself alone for guest communication is very good. So guys, what you're looking at right here is our booking portal. You have here the where you can where do you want to go. You could type it in and it'll give you the listings in that city. These are the featured listings, with all the details. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And a few of the reviews right down here. If you write a message here, we'll have an app in our phones that we could reply to it right away. And a few articles, on these articles here allow you to get ranked on Google. If you go to the reservations tab, you will see the map, which I thought this was completely necessary. This is one of the things that I really stressed upon. You could see more or less where the properties are located. So, guests gotta have something close to where they plan to stay. And, all kinds of filters. I think the user interface is very, very helpful and easy to navigate. You have check-in, check-out, rooms, baths, bedrooms, and yeah, a rundown of the properties here on the right. And say, for example, this one, you can process bookings with both PayPal and Stripe. This is what a listing looks like. It tells you the amount of guests right away. You check the availability on the calendar, all the pictures, the fees, and right down here it says the amenities, what it has. And I found it really neat that we were able to put what's nearby: arts and entertainment, restaurant, shopping. And you're also able to do a video walkthrough. On this one we don't have it, but on this one we do. So any recurring guests, anybody that you've already had a relationship with, I'm sure you have more than a few friends that are pilots and right, and part of the crew, right, Christy?
Yeah.
You must have recurring bookings, and that's me right there. And it's a walkthrough, and right there it indicates all the security deposits, cleaning fee, and such. So
Nice.
that's the portal right there. Thank you so much. I can help you guys develop it if you need it. If you think it'll suit, it's good. It'll suit you good. But it's great for recurring guests.
That's
So
awesome.
Sebastian, if I wanted to list my house there, can you talk me through the costs and the process?
On my website,
Is that something that you do, or no?
we are looking to do that at some point in the future. Right now, we want to clarify a few hurdles. Quite honestly, we were going back and forth with them because on the matter of payment, because honestly, I wouldn't want to handle the funds for anyone other's properties, and also not just handling and being responsible for them, but transaction costs. That's like a 2-3% that those fees will add up. So at one point in the future, we want to have it, and we want to test with a few other hosts, a few other properties. It could be you, Diego, and see how we do. But once we have it tight and working well, we plan on doing that. Why not?
Nice.
And that's what I have for you as far as the website. Any other questions you guys have? Bless you, Diego.
Well, thanks for putting this together. I really appreciate you creating this group and this networking opportunity. So I just want to give a huge thank you to you.
Thank you guys as always for being part of it. I'm sorry for the short notice. We'll change that next time for sure. And but yeah, it's really awesome to see you guys, even if it's virtually.
This is good. Thank you, Christy, for the awesome information. I was clueless with regards to what you briefed.
Oh, good. I'm glad that I could shed some light on that.
All right. Thank you, Billy and Angela, for joining us. They're from Court Furniture.
Thank you for having us. Very, very informative meeting.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure. I'm happy everything's getting better for you guys. So
much.
Hope we're on the backside of this. So
thank you guys a lot. Looking